A chieftain of the Labour Party and campaign manager of the presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi Oseloka Obaze, has resigned his membership of the party. Obaze disclosed this in a letter addressed to LP chairman in Ochuche Ward 406, Obaru local government area in Anambra State. He cited the inability of the various factions in the party and the outcome of the April 5th governorship primaries in Anambra State as reasons for his decision to resign from the party. He, however, did not disclose his next line of action concerning his political future. Obaze, a former United Nations diplomat, was the secretary to Anambra government under Peter Obi and had worked closely with him as an advisor until his resignation from the party. Well, joining us to discuss issues surrounding the resignation of Obi's campaign manager, Obaze, is Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, as well as a RISE analyst. Glad to have you join us, Dr. Amadi.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for Labour Party, it's one problem after another. Obaze touts Anambra primary as a reason for his resignation. What's your sense of his resignation and the reason he gave for resigning?
Well, first, I think you can see that Labour Party has been from one problem to another, PDP, all the parties, maybe but only the parties are stable, relatively is APC, in terms of the fact that there are no anybody claiming to be faction leader. I mean, you go to PDP, someone claims to be secretary, another person claims to be secretary, and so on and so forth. I think the crisis with APC, Labour Party, is that perhaps it came to prominence so quickly, had no foundation. Even the concern of Labour Party is so deficient in many ways. The provisions there are no clear provisions. So a party that Peter Obi brought to stardom, basically, with a preparation, doesn't have foundation, it's really perhaps in some sense expected. But what perhaps is not expected is the level of quote-unquote silliness among the leadership that perhaps they are digging into deeply. And my analysis is that whenever small parties are usually prone to cyclical crisis because their operators are basically jobless persons. True. No mischief intended, because the guys who head the bigger parties have reasonable address. They are former governors, they are probably big-time business people. So they don't live off politics in the literal sense. But these guys who are juggling these small parties, basically persons perhaps who didn't have pedigree, they probably never worked in a big place, never made so much money.
You won't say that about Osaze.
No, Osaze is not the manager. I'm talking about the people who made him leave.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the why the Labour Party seems to be moving from launching from one case to another. Okay. Is that these people who live off politics, literally, because they have no other visible means of livelihood, exposed to the glamour and the returns on investment of politics, can dig in. That's tragic. Now, Osaze is an urbane diplomat, experienced guy. And he has been with Peter for
he
has been around. And not just been with him, but I think somebody who also shares most of Peter's and understands and perhaps accepts some of those things that people find maybe difficult to Peter, maybe it's too strict. So he's leaving now. Yeah. He's prone to several analysis. So
let's dive into it. Mm-hmm. He gave two reasons. Mm-hmm. The elections in Anambra, April 5th. Mm-hmm. He says it does not conform with the party's core values, the constitution, and
April 5th.
Yeah, which is the election, the Anambra
primary. Is it which is the one by?
One by Ogoto. Is it Ogoto? I can't get his name now.
The one by, is it the Nadi Usman conducted one, or the one
that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point.
So he says it's because of the election. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one reason. And then the second is the crisis in the party, which I will come to. Mm-hmm. But what do you make of his reasons for resigning?
I think, those reasons, if I consider them objectively and deeply, I think there could be a small screen, basically. I think he's tired of the party, perhaps the politics associated with the party. It seems to me, maybe in the weeks to come, we'll hear more, that somehow he is kind of no longer passionate about whatever the party represents or what this politics represents. Because when I say so, yes, it's true that, I mean, if Labour is in deep crisis, then the elections they conduct to be in crisis. So the governorship election, whether you're looking for at the one of Abure or the one that Nanade, who is by the Supreme Court in my own reading, the real national chairman.
There are so many readings.
No, in my own reading.
Okay.
That's what I say, in my own reading. I know that anybody can come to Arise or to any television and say it's a faction. What does it take to form a faction in Nigerian party? You just call a press conference, announce yourself, you're a faction.
No, we're talking about based on the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court, I'm speaking as a lawyer, and a very good one at that, I can say. The Supreme Court is very clear. You see, the Supreme Court, the first question to ask yourself is, who went to the Supreme Court and why they go to the Supreme Court? They went to the Supreme Court to challenge something, okay? The Supreme Court says that the courts ought not have made any decision. Now, Mr. Abure is on the list. By the way, before he was put on the list by INEC, he was already removed by INEC. The court ordered INEC to put him back. High Court. And the Supreme Court says, court, you are wrong. So basically, and that's the problem. The problem is that the INEC rules and INEC, the way INEC plays and the way the courts make INEC look like.
I thought what the Supreme Court said was you can't interfere.
That's the Supreme Court responded to a judgment of the High Court, which they appealed. Listen, the judgment of the High Court went to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said you cannot determine it. I'm saying that if you look at website, where his name is, the name is entered as by court order. That's what INEC put, because INEC was first. But let's leave the point.
Let's move further. Yes. What do you make of the war of words and the use of uncouth language between Abure and Oti? One saying this one was masturbating, of course, not in the sense of masturbating. There's another English word for masturbating. Yes. And then Abure says you're dwarfic and you're short. What do you make of this kind of language?
To be fair, Oti's language is not abusive. It simply says, look, this guy is posturing.
Yeah.
He is not the leader. And by the way, I've told Abure, is my good friend, we meet, I said, you can't lead a party that doesn't want you for 4 years. That's like madness. It can't happen. At the point, look.
No, who doesn't want him? Oh, is Oti the person that doesn't want him?
No. Let me tell you, under the Labour Party, just a little party, there are what they call NEC. NEC is made up of statutory elected persons. So in every sense of the word, the parties, PDP, APC, Labour, any party, the governor of a state is a member of NEC, statutorily. So Oti has a secured, not because of Oti, but virtue of being governor, his deputy, NLC president, TC president, these are statutory members of the board NEC, so they can't even be removed. Because that's statutory, it's office. If Oti moves away from PDP now, for example, a Labour Party, he ceases to be a member of NEC. So my understanding of it, which is clear, is that even INEC has written that said the executives now, their tenure has expired. So those people who have the capacity, undertakers back, whether it's PDP or APC, are the NEC, just like it was on PDP now. The NEC takes back the party and conducts a process.
That's the National Executive Committee.
Exactly. So, but the Abure thing is like holding over. I mean, look at the fight with the other guy in Lagos. What's his name? Who claims to be, who was fighting Abure then?
The old man.
Old man. He's still claiming to be chairman. So it's all laughable. So what I ought to say is that, look, these guys are posturing. Let's even think Oti is wrong. I mean, I can claim that you're posturing. Abure descended, kind of got unraveled. How can you use dwarfic? So what I'm saying, the two statements are not the same level. Oti can be wrong to say you are posturing.
Well, using masturbating is because, okay, maybe some of us know English.
Taken to mean fruitless.
That's not the first meaning of masturbating. That comes in third.
By any language.
So, I mean, when you said that,
what
someone would think immediately,
no, that's not,
no, but that's true.
Masturbate in leadership. What I masturbate, when somebody says you are masturbating in a non-sexual context. It's simply
No, but he didn't. I mean, he didn't break it down. What I'm saying,
what I'm saying is dumb.
Get the point.
No, I'm saying it's dumb to think beyond it. Let me tell you, what I'm talking about politics. Somebody says, I'm leader of a party, say I masturbate. It simply means that you are engaged in fruitless exercise.
Okay, let's move. But before I let you go,
yeah. But I think the language Abudu used, is my friend, it's not my friend, is perhaps was provoked. I mean, Tuafik. No, but of course, it's short.
Are you saying that Oti didn't provoke that? Couldn't he have used a better? I mean, we talk about.
Let's even forget the word. Even if you're abusing Tuafik, that's fine. That's politics. Even though it's rhetoric that doesn't matter. I mean, Oti will hold up to find that it's short in size. That doesn't really matter.
Okay.
There are many short people. The key point.
Well,
the key point is what's happening in the party.
I'm even interested in why at that level people are using such words. We can get over it. But let's look at this in a wider spectrum, holistically. What damage is all this inability among political parties, not just the Labour, doing to Nigeria's democracy?
It's terrible. I mean, let me tell you why it's terrible. And that's part of why I don't attack APC in their so-called, grab all move. Because, look, the small parties, I've said before, not just Labour Party, they're just a disaster. Whether it is ADC, whether it's even the one that show whether it's running. These guys, the big parties, PDP, APC, are far better run for two reasons. One, the guys who took over small parties have no jobs. Go to their pedigree. I'm not joking. What I mean by that is that they are seeing this as a profession. So they don't do anything. They hold over the party, waiting for who will fail APC, PDP primary, and jump there, buy them over with 30 million, all of them, or 50 million. Because it happened in Labour in Imo State, elsewhere. Look, before P2B came. So they can fight to die over this franchise, waiting for this. It damages opposition. So the only opposition that has real potential is the PDP and is strangulating under pesative fight. These other parties, and by the way, I ran an election in 2017 under ABGA. I told 23 Peter tried to convince me to go, and I went for the Labour Party. So it's not like I belong to that tendency. It's unfortunate that these guys have no degree of patience, sacrifice. They don't see a big picture. You win an election, for example, we could all get it. So look at how it works. If a chairman of APC now, President Tinubu says, look, for the party to move on. We saw when Adam Oshomole, a renowned Labour leader, I mean, he has pedigree, towering over Abure, former governor, is that not correct? Senator, was asked to step down. He stepped down. Look at PDP. Ayu, professor, former Senate president, was asked to step down. After a long while, but even an earthquake cannot make Abure step down or any of those chairmen step down. Look at other parties. Yet, ask INEC. There's cases upon cases on all of these small parties. It's a small party tendency. And the explanation is that those who manage them have no work. Right. And they see it as they're waiting for 2027 when one stalwart will lose primary in APC for, let's say, Imo, or Abia, or Anambra, or Adamawa. He shifts it there, bring 1 billion, they share, and use it for the next election. And they keep damaging Nigerian politics. I'm saying that authoritative because I know and I've been part of that process.
All right, we'll leave it there. Otherwise, I would have chipped in the fact that don't you see the danger? But I think you mentioned it.
Danger. They are eclipsing the possibility of democratic contestation.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi there, Arise News analyst and Abuja School of Thought director, for being on Arise Newsnight.